All right, I'm Jason Feltman, and I'm back with the series of how to sell P&C insurance. All right, today I'm going to talk about how to track your sales agent. Okay, I'm going to try to not make this boring. Okay, I know insurance can be boring, but I'm going to do my best just to give you what you need so that your agency can dominate. I don't know if you saw yesterday, but we talked about Jack, how to guarantee that we can get enough sales out of Jack, the sales that you want. We had a 40K projection for him, but if we're buying all of these leads and we're investing so much into him, how do we track Jack, right? How do we track Jack? I'm sure you've been wondering all week. So let's get into that.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feltman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
There's two things. We have the agency scorecard. We're going to get into that, and then the agent quote sheet. Let's start with the agent scorecard. So the agent scorecard, when I first started doing this, I did not have a scorecard. And I'll never forget, I hired somebody who was supposed to be phenomenal at sales. And she was, but then she wasn't. And then she was, and so on, right? It was the classic sales roller coaster that we had in the agency. So I didn't want it to be that way. And I didn't want to only hire somebody who was great at sales. In that case, I'd be looking for a unicorn. You know what I mean? It was very hard to find somebody with that kind of experience. But the other side of this is have a process that we know that we're on track and that we can pretty much put anybody in this position and follow a certain amount of numbers and have them follow a process and get a specific result. So that's the whole point of this. So the first thing is, if you have an agent that you're buying leads for, you have to track them. You have to track them on a daily basis because we want to know if we can back out those numbers so that Jack can have the exact amount of sales that you want, which was 40,000. So we knew for him, we needed 8 quotes a day. And again, we said that the results aren't going to happen like that. If you have a 25% close rate and you did 8 quotes in the day, that doesn't mean you're going to get the 2 sales out of that day. It might be in the bank in the future, right? Because you might just have 1 great sales day a week or something like that, or 2 great sales days. And then the other days are kind of diminishing. But we want to consistently get a certain result. So this is how we do it. We start with the agent scorecard. What are we tracking here? We're tracking sales, obviously. And this is the one thing that every agency owner tracks, right? Is sales. Hey, I want you to get this amount of sales. And usually we kind of lead with that. We tell them, hey, let's get this amount of sales. What are sales? They're a result, right? They're the result of certain actions. So that's what we want to track is the actions because we know that the actions will get the result. So again, when you're talking about pros versus amateurs, pros track actions, amateurs track results. So we obviously want to track the sales for the day. And I want this to come from them. So this is what they're going to report. They're going to report their sales. They're going to report if they're, like in our agency, we did live transfers, right? From our teleteam. So we want to know how many transfers they received that day. So that kind of shows us how they're taking the leads. Are they taking them or are they just leaving them there in the agency? You can kind of manipulate that to whatever your agency is doing, but we want to see, are they taking if you have certain lists that they're calling on or certain ways that they're getting leads, we want to track how hungry they are each day, that they're doing the right activities, that they're trying to get those leads. So that's what we did. So it's sales, transfers. The next one are quotes. How many quotes were they able to get? And this is really what's important, right? We want to make sure that they're getting enough quotes to get the sales. To the example yesterday, it was 8 quotes for Jack. And so this is why we did that. Hopefully you have that number after you listen to the last one where this is the number that I want. So we're going to back that out to quotes. Quotes are so important. Let's back that out to calls, right? How many calls did they make? How many outbound activities? It can be, if you're doing something on Messenger or something like that, like how many outbound activities? Calls is the number one. We have to talk to somebody to sell them a policy. So we always track calls. So how many calls did they make that day? How hungry were they? If their quotes are less for some reason that day, like let's say Jack, I bought him enough leads. We know that he had an opportunity to get 8 quotes. We know that because we're on it. We're on our lead company. We're on everything, right? Why did Jack only get 4 quotes? And then on top of it, his calls were a little bit lower. Jack didn't put in the effort that day. So what happened? Did we have a sales meeting that morning? Or maybe did he kind of slide under the radar? Like what can we do to motivate Jack to take the opportunity? Not everybody's going to feel like taking the opportunity every day. So our thought process has to be in how can we motivate our team to take all of the opportunities that we give them in that day. So calls is one of them. And then here's the sneakiest one that is one of the most important metrics on this sheet that we track every single day, which is talk time. Talk time. So what you're going to want to do is you want to take that talk time and you're going to want to divide it by the amount of quotes. Okay? And this is the talk time for the entire day. And if you don't have a way to track this, you are never going to get the results that you want. I will confidently say that because you got to track how many calls and the talk time that your agents do. I mean, there's no other way to handle leads, in my opinion. So track that talk time, have the amount of the total talk time for the day divided by the quotes. What do we get there? Hopefully, we're getting above 15-minute quotes. Why? The know, like, and trust. Dude, it is so important to build something of value, like we talked about yesterday. And the only way to do that is to get into some sort of conversation with them. You want to go beyond just the order taking of quotes. If that's the kind of agency that you're running where they're just going to be, they're just going to take numbers and fill out spreadsheets and fill out the intake form, well, then you're screwed. Why? Because, dude, AI is coming in a year or two. I mean, that kind of order taking is not needed. It's so easy to just get a bot to do that you want to build. Like the competitive advantage you have as an agency owner is to build a relationship. And you can build a quick relationship and you already have that person on the phone. Why not keep them on the phone for a little bit longer? We know that the likelihood of getting someone to a sale, even a one call close after 30 minutes is about 5 times greater than at the 15-minute mark or at the 10-minute mark. So you really want to make sure that your agents aren't just trying to get to the next easy sale, because the harder sales are the ones that you want in your agency. If somebody took 20 calls to get through and it was really hard to convince them and a few long conversations, that means that's what it's going to take for that person to leave your agency to go to somebody else's agency. And I'll tell you one thing, knowing the market out there, most agencies don't do this. So that's where your advantage is in this situation. So make sure that you're not a transactional agency and that you want to build relationships and that you make your agents build those relationships on the phone. The only way to do that is to make sure those calls are well beyond 15 minutes on average. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm really looking for beyond 20. 15 is like that minimum threshold. And it's so important to me. And you can see it too. You can see it if you're tracking these numbers. Look at your highest sales person. You're going to notice that they have higher talk times than anybody else. And that's just the truth. People buy from people. We were talking about value yesterday, right? What's valuable? What's valuable is somebody that's taking the time to think about all the things and get into the conversations that are needed for that individual person. That's how we tailor it to them, right? Where, you call like Geico or they just want to close you right there. They want to do it quick and fast. And you have the advantage that you can spend some more time with them and talk about 3 things. This is 3 things that we need to talk about in that conversation. And it's work, family, and fun. So that's how we can get in more into a relationship, is by talking about things kind of outside of insurance, but bringing it back in. So let's talk about the next worksheet, which is the agent quote sheet. Now, I know I'm a techie guy. I love having a rockin' CRM that tracks all this stuff. But when we were running 17 sales agents that were doing close to 10 quotes a day, I wanted to be able to walk over to my agents' desks or be able to just look at a quick sheet and pull it up. How long was this call? Like, I want to be able to see that, and I want them to be able to see. I want them to write down these people's names. And when we cross-reference those names with the CRM, I've used so many CRMs, and almost every single one, there would be glitches in the system where it wouldn't be status correctly, or maybe the agent's fault or the CRM's fault, or something in the system where somebody wasn't marked quoted and it never came back into their pipeline. What a horrible loss, right? So that's why we have to have an agent quote sheet. You know what? I'm going to get into that on the next one. So the next call, we'll get into the agent quote sheet, what is needed and why it's so important. So take what you learned from the agent scorecard, build out your agent scorecard, okay? Because, and make sure that they're posting those numbers at the end of the day. It's going to transform what you see your sales agents doing. You're actually going to be able to see it, and you're going to have a record of all the days being able to see the behaviors and the consistency of your team. So keep rocking. I'll talk to you tomorrow.